Okay, guys, today we're starting The One and Only Ivan by Katherine Applegate. And you probably noticed you have a bookmark on your desk today. This is for our One and Ivan book only. It is not for any of your other books in your book bin. So, the first thing that you're going to need today is this purple slip of paper that says hello. After reading the glossary and this first chapter, predict what you think this book will be about. So before we start reading, I need you to open your One and Only Ivan notebook and turn to the page after these. So you did your before your reading. I need you to turn to the next page and glue that purple slip of paper up at the top, because after we read this first part, you're going to respond to it. Okay, so go ahead and turn with me to the first page in your book. Okay, the first page should be an introduction page. It says for Julia. This is actually your dedication page. So whoever Julia is, this book was written for her. And then there's a quote by George Eliot that says, "It is never too late to be what you might have been." So think about that as we read this book. It's never too late to be what you might have been. All right, now your purple slip said to read the glossary and the first chapter and predict what we think this book will be about. So in this book, your glossary is actually at the beginning because your author wants you to make sure you know what these words mean before you start reading, because it's going to be important as you read. So the first word says chest beat. Repeated slapping of the chest with one or both hands in order to generate a loud sound, sometimes used by guerrillas as a threat display to intimidate an opponent. I'm sure you've all seen a gorilla do a chest beat before. Go ahead and show me your chest beat. Okay, so that is something that the gorillas do in this book as well. Domain means territory. It's kind of like where he's going to be living. The grunt, snorting pig-like noise made by gorilla parents to express annoyance. Kind of like when your parents maybe get annoyed with you and they go, oh. Okay, so that's kind of what these gorilla parents do to their kids, but it's more of a grunt, like a snort. Meeball, dried excrement thrown at observers. That's poop. 9,855 days. An example. So while gorillas in the wild typically gauge the passing of time based on seasons or food availability, like, okay, it's fall, I know that because in the fall it gets colder, or in the winter it gets really cold, or in the summer it's hot, or in the summer we can find a lot of food and then in the fall we can't. Ivan has adopted a tally of days. So 9,855 days is equal to 27 years. So Ivan's not in the wild. He doesn't know the passing of seasons. He's inside all the time, so he can't do it the same way that wild gorillas could. So Ivan just makes a tally mark for every day that he's been there. Knot tag is a stuffed toy gorilla. Silverback, also less frequently called a gray boss. That's an adult male over 12 years old with an area of silver hair on his back. The silverback is a figure of authority, responsible for protecting his family. Slimy chimp, slang, offensive. It means it's not like an official word, it's just what he uses, and offensive means it might hurt somebody's feelings. So a human refers to sweat on hairless skin. So if there was an adult maybe that he didn't like so much, he might call them a slimy chimp because they don't have hair, so we sweat, and he thinks that's kind of gross. Vining is casual play, a reference to vine swinging. So that's your glossary. So keep those words and definitions in mind as we read. And what you'll notice about this book is the chapters are actually very short. It's written by the gorilla. Your first chapter is called Hello. It says, I am Ivan. I am a gorilla. It's not as easy as it looks. And that's your first chapter. That's it. So I want you to take your bookmark and slide it in that first chapter. And I want you to set your book aside for a moment and take a look back at your purple page. It says, after reading the glossary and this first chapter, predict what you think this book will be about. So what do you think this book is going to be about? That's what you're going to write right here. Now, you don't have to fill up your whole page. I don't expect you to do that over a book you know nothing about yet. But I want you to make a prediction. Remember, like a weatherman makes a prediction about the weather based on what he has read and what he knows. So you're going to make a prediction What do you think this book is going to be about? And don't just write a gorilla. Write what you actually think is going to happen in this book. Okay, go ahead and hit pause while you do that. And when you're done doing that, you can play the video again. So 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, good, you're back. So after you have written in your journal, we are going to go on and we're going to read all the way to page 5, to the end of the chapter called How I Look. Your next chapter is called Names. People call me the freeway gorilla, the ape at exit 8, the one and only Ivan, mighty silverback. The names are mine, but they're not me. I am Ivan, just Ivan, only Ivan. Humans waste words. They toss them like banana peels and leave them to rot. Everyone knows the peels are the best part. I suppose you think gorillas can't understand you. Of course, you probably also think we can't walk upright. Try knuckle walking for an hour. You tell me, which way is more fun? Your next chapter is called Patience, on page 3. I've learned to understand human words over the years, but understanding human speech is not the same as understanding humans. Humans speak too much. They chatter like chimps, crowding the world with their noise even when they have nothing to say. It took me some time to recognize all those human sounds, to weave words into things. But I was patient. Patient is a useful way to be when you're an ape. Gorillas are patient as stones. Humans, not so much. How I Look, page 4. I used to be a wild gorilla, and I still look the part. I have a gorilla's shy gaze, a gorilla's sly smile. I wear a snowy saddle of fur, the uniform of a silverback. When the sun warms my back, I cast a gorilla's majestic shadow. In my size, humans see a test of themselves. They hear fighting words on the wind, when all I'm thinking is how the late day reminds me of a ripe nectarine. I'm mightier than any human, 400 pounds of pure power. My body looks made for battle. My arms, outstretched, span taller than the tallest human. My family tree spreads wide as well. I am a great ape, and you are a great ape, and so are chimpanzees and orangutans and bonobos, all of us distant and distrustful cousins. I know this is troubling. I, too, find it hard to believe that there is a connection across time and space, linking me to a race of ill-mannered clowns. Chimps. There's no excuse for them. So we're going to stop reading right there. So go ahead and turn and slide your bookmark into between page 6 and 7 for next time. So now in your journal, you're going to take this page and you're going to glue it in right after the purple page. Okay, so right here. It says, read to the end of the chapter called How I Look. That's where we just did. We read pages 1 through 5. Ivan says, in my size, humans see a test of themselves. What do you think he means by this statement? If you think back to that chapter, he was saying that a lot of times humans see him and they think that like he's ready for battle, he's pure power. So like think about how he looks in that. Humans see a test of themselves and they hear fighting words on the wind. So what do you think that might mean when a human sees him? What does that human think? What does that human feel? That's what you're writing in these blanks on this page. And at the bottom you have a proofreading checklist. So make sure that you do these things as you write. It says, my writing is neat and easy for others to read. My writing makes sense. My response begins by restating part or all of the question or prompt, meaning like, when humans see Ivan, they think. I have used all or most of the lines to write my response, so you didn't just write like 2 words and call it done. I have proofread my work to see that words are spelled correctly, especially the words from the text. And my sentences begin with capitals and end with correct punctuation. Okay, those are things that we always want to do when we're writing to make sure that we write like good writers do. After you finish writing, you're going to flip to your next page in your journal and glue this page in. This is kind of a fun one. Okay, so this goes with those pages we just read as well. It says, good readers make a picture in their mind as they read. Draw a picture in the space below of what you think Ivan's domain looks like. So what you think it looks where he lives. Remember, he's not in the wild, but we don't really know much about where he does live other than in your book, it said that I live in a human habitat called the Exit 8 Big Top Mall and Video Arcade. That's what I read on the next page. Okay, so we need to think, what might his environment look like? What do we think? So go ahead and draw a picture. Don't read ahead to see what you think he might live in. Just go ahead and draw it whatever you were picturing him living in as you read. Okay? And then when we read our next chapter later, you'll get to see if you were right or not.